Oh, I forgot my spiffy opening. Oh well. We're talking today about wars and rumors of wars and World War III and its probability. Until recently, I thought it was a low probability. I need some of my sherry coffee. But as I started looking at what's going on in the news and the fact that many of the European countries are preparing for a war there. But what constitutes a world war? When multiple continents are in play. So I began to look much, much closer. And I realized that all of Europe is in play for a possibility of a war, a great war. But not just that alone. The Middle East is always a ball of fire waiting to erupt in a war. And then I looked at China, the Pacific Rim, and how it's pausing only for a moment, but war is inevitable even there. Now we got war on multiple continents. That would constitute a world war. Or in this case, it might be world wars, plural. It's just amazing. But here's what the scripture says. And I'm coming from Matthew chapter 24, starting in verse 3. Now, as he sat on the Mount of Olives, the disciples came to him privately, saying, "Tell us, when will these things be? And what will be the sign of your coming and of the end of the age?" What age is he talking about? The age in which man would survive. So it's talking about the end of time. It's not talking about the end of the rabbinical period or the temple period or the temple of grace. No, it's talking about the end of man's time, in which at that point he will surrender authority and ownership of this world to the Lord our God and to his Messiah. But here's what it is. And Jesus answered and said to them, "Take heed that no one deceive you. For many will come in my name, saying, 'I am the Messiah,' and will deceive many. And you will hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that you're not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is still not yet." Understand what it's saying here. Yes, wars, rumors of wars. That's going to happen. It's going to be happening on a big scale. And it's happening at a big scale. Okay? But that's not going to be the end. When all that stops, when the Lo Mashiach, the Antichrist, comes doing peace, peace, peace. Well, it sounds good. It does. And I'm sure on paper it looks good. But when he shows up going peace, 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 realize it's the prelude to the reign of the Antichrist. And you know what comes after that? Both the church and the Jews will suffer horrific punishment and tribulation and difficulty. We will be considered the scourge of the earth. And the earth, literally the people, okay, will turn their back on Jews and Christians. And as in times of Adolf Hitler, blame all the world's issues on us. It's almost like Biden blaming everything on Trump. He doesn't know how to stop, but that's his excuse. And all his followers, Biden's, they sing the same song. But let's talk about the probability. I got to clip my keepa on. And yes, I have my J. Lee cookie here. But I found out this week that most Europeans, okay, and we're talking about France, Spain, even Poland, England, are all, in essence, slowly prepping as individuals because they've known World War before. They've known the consequences of war. And so they're all slowly prepping. And apparently the average prepper, okay, is doing 3 months as a minimum. But I guess what got my attention is apparently as I saw the news reading, Belarus and Poland are talking about squaring off. Apparently, Poland sent a plane over the border, and now Belarus is all gearing up for war. And interesting enough, the Poles are putting in those metal things, I don't know what you call them, where they go on the ground and stop tanks from rolling over. Anyway, the whole world has got balagan. It's gone crazy, confused. And all the leaders are, here's another nice little word for you, mashugana. They're all crazed, nuts. But anyway, what is the probability of a world war or world wars, plural? High, very high. But yet, Yeshua says, interesting enough, don't be overly concerned. Of course, in war, we're always going to be concerned. But don't be concerned that that is a sign of his coming as a conclusion. No, those things will have to come to pass. Because remember, the Lo Mashiach, Antichrist, is going to come along with this peace, peace, peace message. And things will calm down a little bit. Well, at least enough that he can take control. But let's talk about the believers for a moment. Okay, if I look at the way it's set up right now, look at Europe, I'm looking at the Middle East, Pacific Rim. There are some places that at least it may not touch directly. It may not touch the Western Hemisphere. It may not touch North America, South America, or Australia, unless we align ourselves with them. And I'm not saying it's good or bad to align ourselves. I mean, I'm not a politician, I'm a rabbi. But what I do know is that a world war, even if it's not directly with the U.S. or South America or Australia, will affect us also. Because there's going to be a loss of resource, there's going to be a loss of interaction, and even here, people will have to choose sides. So anyway, what's the probability of world war? Right now, pretty high. I mean, really pretty high. Far more than most people can imagine. Pretty high. But for Israel, particularly, they've always been at war. They don't know how to stand down. They've never had a period of actual peace. With the PLO on one side and Hamas on the other, and other fractional groups, Israel has never known true peace. But Sar Shalom, the Prince of Peace, when he comes, he will make sure that everyone gets in line and everyone will find peace, at least for a season. So, what should you do as a believer? You should be tracking this stuff. You should be aware that there's a reality out there. That reality is scriptural driven. You see, man does not know how to live in peace. He really doesn't. Why? Because we have a sin nature. And sin nature, number one, got a little sniffle this morning. The sin nature is always wanting more. And if you've got it, I'll take it. In fact, if you look at the crime in America, you might find that the crime in America, in many ways, reflects the politics in the world. You have something I want, I'm going to take it. And I wanted my J. Lee cookie. I really did. Still do. Let me give you a little homework assignment, if you don't mind. One day this week, just one day, choose any day you wish for the first one, and simply spend some time researching what's going on between Ukraine and Russia, and who are the players. And it really is like Russia and Ukraine. See, they're going at it, but Ukraine is actually a buffer nation, which the rest of Europe is using to keep the Russians back. That's why they're supplying so much weapons and so many resources to Ukraine. And then the next day, go ahead and look at the China situation. What's China doing? You know, China is building islands in order to move further offshore as a launching pad. That's right. And by the way, China is also putting missiles in Cuba. What happened last time when that took place? Okay, but we don't have any JFKs that's willing to stand there and tell them no, to run a blockade. Nope. And both Russia and China have made point-blank statements about eventually being at war with the U.S. If that happens, then it really will be quite personal for us sitting here. I find it interesting that with a high potential of the U.S. being caught up in a war, that we're also stripping the citizenship of their guns and weapons and such. It's just amazing. It's not really logical. The thing to do would be unify the nation, okay? And that would work. But what am I? I'm only the rabbi. But I do know that I don't have to be overly concerned until I start hearing the peace, peace, peace. By the way, it's not shalom peace either. It's a truce, it's a truce, it's a truce. And there's the difference between peace and truce. A truce is where everyone agrees to stop right where they're at. There's no going back, there's no going forward. We just stop for a season. Just a season. So, one day we're going to look at the European. Actually, I want you to do the research. The second day, I would like you to look at, of course, the Pacific Rim, what's going on with China. And the third, spend a real day looking at the Middle East. And there's so much that is never really reported on the big news agencies. Why? For news to be news, it has to be new. N-E-W. And why is that? Why report on something that's so common? No, they don't report on things that are not common. Now, once again, 3 days, Middle East, Pacific Rim, okay, and of course, Europe. What is our role in this as an American nation? Okay, we supply weapons. I'm not so sure God's so pleased with that either. But what do I know? I'm only the rabbi. I do know that if I read the end of the story, okay, the Lo Mashiach will actually gather many of these nations to himself. And the Lo Mashiach will actually attempt at that point to override Israel completely and actually to set his image up in the holiest of holies. You know, we'll be on the edge of the Messiah's return. Now, I've been doing this study on Revelation, Daniel, Zechariah for years. Okay, let me tell you, and I can't give you the whole study in 15 minutes. But what I can tell you, without doubt, is that in the end, the Messiah still returns, and nothing in heaven or in hell can stop his coming. You, my dear friends, we win. Say it. We win. Even if it should cost me my physical life, I still win. That's cool. It really is. So, tomorrow, we're going to continue our conversation on end time things. And we'll continue for just a little bit. But let me tell you, if you're in the sound of our voice or within driving range of Shema Shariel, if you would like to, join us for Rosh Hashanah, okay, which is a week from this Saturday, Friday and Saturday, then you need to get your name in. And if you would, go ahead and text me, because you got the number, 719-248-6324. You got the number. So feel free to text and let me know that you're interested. And we'll call you back and set you up and make sure there's a place at the table for you. So right now, hit those buttons. Hit the like, the share, the donate, the follow, all those buttons, because they help us in our ratings, which pushes this message further to the top when people are searching. All right? So may the Lord bless you and keep you and cause his face to shine upon you, and be gracious unto you, lift up his countenance to you, and give you peace. And World War III or world wars are inevitable. So may God bless you and keep you.